My name's Peter Gore, and on this channel we're going to discuss the subject of how do you age better. So I'm going to put that in context for you and use a framework that we will routinely use as we go through this channel. But first of all, what do I mean by better? So the World Health Organization has said that functional capability or functional ability is a really important metric in terms of older people. We want to be able to do the things that we've done every day for years. We want to continue to be able to do those things. And so that's really what we're going to focus on. There are lots of other things, but we're going to focus on that as a metric at least. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's a graph or a chart, and you can see some items listed down the left-hand side. The first four are really about deconditioning or basic loss of fitness. But then we have a group of 15 that start with not being able to reach your toenails to cut them and finish at the bottom with not being able to eat independently. And you can understand if you lose these things, if you're down the bottom of what we call the life curve, then you won't be able to live independently. You will either be getting full-time care from friends, family members, or you will be in an institution where you can get that full-time care. So we're going to use this framework as we go through the channel and see what makes a difference and how things fit into this. But first of all, let's talk about how we might have different trajectories. So I put on somebody we'll call Bert here, and he's going to have two different journeys. We'll have upper Bert and lower Bert. Upper Bert's maintained his ability to do full wash, or is nominally at that stage, and lower Bert has continued to lose those abilities. So these aren't typical trajectories, they're just example trajectories. What's happened to upper Bert is essentially he's not really had more years, but he's had more better years. So he's stayed with more ability for longer, and that means at the end of his life he'll decline much more rapidly, which is essentially what most of us would choose. We prefer not to decline at all, of course, but if we are going to decline, if we can decline in a very short period, that would be having more better years. We're not simply time shifting the problem, we are giving you more better years. That's what this is about. We can do this. The research was reported in a paper a few years ago called New Horizons on Compression of Functional Decline. And if you want to download that paper, you can use a search engine to find it. It's an open access publication, so feel free to do that. There were other things mentioned in the paper, in particular, how you might go about achieving those different or better trajectories, if you like. And the first thing there is to stay off the life curve for the longest possible time. So if I tell you that 2% of men, 3% of women start on the life curve in England at the age of 42, yet I can find you a small group of women in Western California who still aren't on the life curve at the age of 100. So chronological age is not a very useful metric. We've got a 60-year period, if you like, where we might lose this ability or maintain it across that whole period. So staying off the life curve is the best thing that we can do. And there are things that we can do to do that. Principally just maintaining our muscle mass and strength and fitness and not allowing it to naturally decline, which it will do probably from your late 40s, early 50s, if you don't do anything about it. Secondly, we can get that ability back. So just because we've lost something doesn't mean we can't get it back. The body is very responsive to being challenged if you do the right kinds of targeted exercises or whatever. The third thing that you can do is to use equipment. There are a number of ways in which equipment can be useful, but one of the key things in functional ability is its ability to compensate for a loss of ability on your part that allows you to continue to be able to do the task. So to give you a very quick example, somebody who's perhaps feeling unsteady on their feet or worried about falling, if you gave them a walking stick, they might be more steady and feel more steady and therefore more likely to carry on walking. So that's compensating for a reduced ability, but still maintaining their ability to do the task independently. And finally, but not less importantly, is the role of care. And care is essentially doing something for them or with them, and because they can't do it unaided. So that's a really important role. If somebody's been deconditioned in hospital, which is pretty common, and they come out, they might have a package of care for a while, but actually they would be able to potentially get many of those abilities back if they've just lost them due to deconditioning in hospital. So they might need less care in the long term, but care is still important, and obviously somebody who's down the bottom of the life curve is going to have a lot of care or be in an institution where they can get care from others. So that's really important. We only have a few markers on this framework because otherwise it would be very complicated, but the important thing is that at every stage you're able to make a decision. Am I going to try and get this ability back? Am I going to use something to maintain my independence, although I'll need to rely on that piece of equipment? Or am I going to get somebody to do this for me or with me? So there are decisions at every point. So what are we going to do on this channel? We're trying to help ordinary people who want to know how to live better for longer as they grow older. So that's what we're going to try to address in our videos. We're going to underpin what we do with discussions from practitioners, evidence from academics. We'll engage with those probably on a separate channel. We're going to listen to and share stories from people who are trying to live better for longer. We're going to try to clearly and simply explain any evidence that we find so that you can put it into practice if that's what you'd like to do. We might respond to issues raised in the news. And of course, we're always interested to hear your genuine questions and we'll try to respond. So by all means, subscribe to the channel if you want to come back and listen. If you want notifications, then click on that button so that you can know when we've uploaded a new video, which we will try to do regularly. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.